The Dukes of Hazzard captivated audiences with its breathtaking car chases and the heartwarming camaraderie characteristic of Hazzard County in the 1970s and 80s. But behind the scenes, many of the show's stars faced tragic fates, unexpected accidents, and life-threatening illnesses that are hard to imagine. Let's look back at the lives of these legends and honor the legacy they left behind. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Let's watch. Denver Del Pyle as Jesse Duke. Denver Del Pyle was born on May 11, 1920, in Bethune, Colorado. At age 59, he took on the role of Jesse Duke in the Dukes of Hazzard, 1979 to 1985, a protective, principled uncle who kept the Duke family on track amidst the chaos of the American South. With his deep, resonant voice, determined gaze, and the charismatic charm of an American father, Denver etched the image of Jesse into the hearts of millions across the country. But behind that legendary figure lay a life of hardship. Before his fame, Denver dropped out of college, played drums for hire, worked on oil rigs in Oklahoma and Texas, and served in the commercial Navy during World War II. When the war ended, he returned penniless and started over, taking on countless small, uncredited roles in films and television shows. It wasn't until the 1960s that he gained recognition for his roles in The Andy Griffith Show and Frank Hamer in Bonnie and Clyde in 1967, before reaching the pinnacle of his career with the Dukes of Hazzard. At age 60, while many were retiring, Denver Pyle was at the height of his fame. However, the glamour of the stage could not erase the hidden aspects of his private life. His first marriage to Marilee Carpenter ended in 1970, leaving him to raise his two sons alone. For many years, he lived a solitary life until he remarried at age 63, finding his life partner Tippi Johnston, who remained by his side until the end of his life. What truly set Denver apart wasn't just his 5-decade-long acting career, but his exceptional business acumen. In the 1960 CE, he boldly acquired abandoned oil wells when oil prices were as low as $2 a barrel. By the 1980 CE, as oil prices soared and technology advanced, those investments transformed him into a true millionaire, with an estimated net worth of around $5 million by the end of his life. But lung cancer did not spare him. On December 12, 1997, he was honored with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Just 13 days later, on Christmas Day, December 25, 1997, Denver Pyle died at the age of 77. He was buried in an unmarked grave at Forest and Cemetery in Texas, next to his wife's parents. A simple end for a man who lived such an extraordinary life. James Best Jongvai Roscoe P. Coltrane. James Best, whose real name was Jewel Franklin Guy, was born on July 26, 1926, in Kentucky. He was 53 years old when he portrayed Sheriff Roscoe P. Coltrane, a hot-tempered, clumsy, and humorous but also lovable officer in the series The Dukes of Hazzard, 1979-1985. With his distinctive high-pitched voice and hilarious chase scenes, Best transformed Roscoe from a supporting character into a pop culture icon. But behind that humorous exterior was a man with a heart full of sadness. James didn't grow up in the care of his biological parents. After his mother died young, he was adopted by another family in Indiana. A lonely childhood left emotional voids that he carried throughout his life. Even after starting his own family, he admitted to struggling with feelings of alienation. His marriages also bore the mark of difficulties. After a short-lived first marriage, he married his second wife, Job Ayers, with whom he had 2 daughters. But the pressures of a demanding filming schedule, work requirements, and emotional distance led to their divorce in 1977. The separation not only caused him heartbreak but also placed financial pressure, forcing him to work even harder to balance fame and real-life responsibilities. It was during those difficult times that the film Dukes of Hazzard became a beacon of hope. Although Roscoe was somewhat goofy, Best gave the character unique depth with his compelling humor. Beyond acting, he taught drama, painted, wrote books, and voiced cartoons to rebuild his life after the shock of his divorce. Those efforts not only helped him overcome his mental difficulties, but also gradually helped him rebuild his net worth, estimated at around $2 million. James Best passed away on April 6, 2015, due to complications from pneumonia at the age of 88. He died peacefully, But fans everywhere will always remember him not only for his clumsy portrayal of Roscoe, but also as a man who always knew how to bounce back with a smile on his face. Sorrel Book as Boss Hogg. Sorrel Book was born on January 4, 1930, in Buffalo, New York. At age 49, he became a television icon with his portrayal of Jefferson Davis Boss Hogg in the series Dukes of Hazzard, a greedy, cunning politician who constantly tried to outsmart the Duke brothers, but ultimately ended up making audiences laugh hysterically. Beneath his fat suit and thick Southern accent, inspired by American senators, Book transformed Boss Hogg into a villain nobody truly hated. A beloved comedic character on American television throughout the show's 7-year run from 1979 to 1985. But behind the white suit was a man of incredible depth and talent. Book was a linguistic prodigy, fluent in at least 6 languages, including Russian, Japanese, Italian, and French. He graduated from high school at the top of his class, completed his degree at Columbia University at age 19, earned a master's degree from Yale, and served 2 years as a counterintelligence officer in the Korean War. His stage and film career spanned over 150 television shows and 100 plays, from MASH and All in the Family to Mission, Impossible, and Columbo. On Broadway, he starred in Fiorello, a testament to his rare versatility. Despite his brilliant career, Book's personal life was tinged with sadness. His marriage to Miranda Knickerbocker ended quietly in 1973, leaving him to raise his 2 children alone. He lived a simple life, gardening, tidying his house, and calling Boss Hogg a scoundrel, though he always smiled when fans recognized him in public. Tragically, Sorrel Book's final years were plagued by illness. He died of colorectal cancer on February 11, 1994, at the age of 64. His net worth at the time was estimated at approximately $3 million, the result of a stable career spanning decades. He is buried at Hillside Memorial Park Cemetery in Culver City, California, alongside many other prominent Jewish artists. Peggy Rhea as Lulu Hogg. Peggy Rhea was born on March 31, 1921, and became a familiar face on American television, particularly for her role as Lulu Coltrane Hogg in the series The Dukes of Hazzard from 1979 to 1985. Between the ages of 58 and 64, she played Boss Hogg's kind wife, creating a graceful contrast to the chaos of Hazzard County. With her gentle voice and warm presence, Rhea portrayed the quintessential Southern woman, kind, patient, and always bringing a smile to the viewers' faces. But few know about the bumpy road she traveled to find that late life stability. As a young woman, she left UCLA to train as a secretary, and quickly found backstage work in Hollywood. Her relationship with her first mentor, Kay Thompson, quickly soured due to personal disagreements, leading to her contract being terminated just before she was scheduled to perform in New York. That failure derailed her burgeoning career and deprived her of rare support in an industry that is not very forgiving of women who don't fit the mold of leading actresses. Her private life was even quieter. She never married, had no children, and mostly lived alone, making her later years more solitary than most people's. She once said that the hardest thing wasn't losing roles, but coming home in the evening with no one to share a long day with. That loneliness silently wore her down, especially as her health declined and her phone stopped ringing with offers for acting roles. Even at the peak of her career, Rhea mostly played supporting roles, nanny, stepmother, or humorous aunt, and rarely received scripts that explored deep emotions. After The Waltons, she appeared in Step by Step, but even she admitted that they needed a familiar face, not necessarily someone whose name they remembered. Her income was steady but modest. By the time of her death, Rhea's net worth was only about $1 million. Peggy Rhea passed away in 2011 at the age of 89 from heart failure. But in the hearts of Dukes of Hazzard fans, her gentle smile as Lulu lives on, a quiet presence that soothes a noisy and wild world. Nedra Volz as Emma Tisdale. Nedra Volz was born on June 18, 1908, and became a familiar face on American television with her role as Emma Tisdale in Dukes of Hazzard. At the age of 72, she breathed life into the character of the petite, lively postmaster, bringing a fresh perspective to the bustling world of the southern town. But in stark contrast to the laughter she brought to the screen, Nedra's real life was a long journey filled with silent losses and challenges. Nedra's youth began in her family's circus, where she was known as Little Nedra and performed on stage from a very young age. But as she grew older, the spotlight faded, and she had to make a living doing various odd jobs, from singing and working on the radio to performing in variety shows, doing whatever it took to survive during the Great Depression in America. It wasn't until she was nearly 50 that she began getting roles on television, gradually becoming a familiar face to audiences in the 1970s. After losing her beloved husband, Nedra single-handedly raised her children through difficult times. As a widow, she not only faced financial hardship but also the profound loneliness that many women in the entertainment industry silently endure. She once said that finishing a small role and returning to an empty home was the hardest thing because there was no one to share what had just happened with. Although her career blossomed relatively late, it was very stable. She embodied the role of Adelaide Brubaker in many different roles. From a humorous mother to a wealthy woman, she appeared in over 25 commercials and continued acting until the age of 88. However, most of her roles were supporting characters, talkative, eccentric older women, which allowed her to maintain a simple lifestyle. When Nedra died in 2003 from complications of Alzheimer's disease, her net worth was estimated at only around $500,000. Waylon Jennings as the Bard. Waylon Jennings, born June 15, 1937, was the legendary vocalist of the Dukes of Hazzard series and the soul of the rebellious country music movement, a rebellious sound that reshaped American country music. At age 42, he appeared as the Bard, the narrator and observer of what was happening in Hazzard County, and he wrote the show's immortal theme song, Good Old Boys. But behind that smooth voice lay a life as sad as a ballad. His first encounter with tragedy was with Buddy Holly, who changed his life. In 1959, Jennings narrowly avoided being on the ill-fated flight that killed Holly, Richie Valens, and Big Bopper. When Holly joked, "I hope your bus freezes to death," Jennings replied, "I hope your plane crashes," which was just a joke. Until the plane actually crashed, Holly was gone. Jennings survived. That feeling of guilt haunted him forever. "I felt like I had killed my friend with a joke," he once said. Haunted by that invisible scar, Jennings poured all his energy into music as a way to escape. But in doing so, he fell into another trap: cocaine. In the 1970s and early 1980s, he spent about $1,500 a day on drugs, equivalent to over $5,000 a day today, driving himself bankrupt, drowning in debt, and ruining his health. The Drug Enforcement Agency, DEA, pursued him, and he narrowly avoided prosecution for drug possession. His marriage to singer Jessie Coulter nearly fell apart because of his addiction. But the birth of his son, Shooter, helped him find the strength to overcome his addiction in 1984. After conquering his addiction, Jennings rediscovered a glimmer of hope in his life. Although he never returned to the peak of his 1970s career, his performances still attracted large crowds. He joined the Highwaymen alongside Willie Nelson, Johnny Cash, and Chris Christopherson, released more albums, and became not just a survivor but a living legend. From financial hardship and poor health, Jennings gradually rebuilt his life. When he died in 2002, his net worth was estimated at around $7 million, a small sum compared to the vast cultural legacy he left behind. However, consequences followed. Years of smoking and drug use led to severe diabetes, and in 2001, he had to have his left leg amputated. Just a few months later, on February 13, 2002, Jennings died in his sleep at his home in Chandler, Arizona, at the age of 64. At his memorial service, Jessie Coulter sang "Storms Never Last" with a choked voice. Christopher Mayer as Vance Duke. Christopher Mayer, whose real name is George Charles Mayer III, was born on February 21, 1954, and rose to fame at the age of 28 when he unexpectedly joined the hit television show The Dukes of Hazzard. He played Vance Duke in the 5th season of the show, temporarily replacing the original cast members during a contract dispute between the producers and the lead actors. Although he only appeared in 19 episodes, Mayer left a lasting impression, not because audiences immediately adored him, but because of the immense pressure he faced. Replacing two beloved stars, Tom Wopat and John Schneider, was like stepping into a storm. Fans reacted harshly. The media questioned his presence, and Mayer faced a wave of skepticism from the very beginning. That pressure not only affected his on-screen image but also left lasting scars on his career. When the season ended and the original stars returned, Mayer quietly withdrew from the spotlight, struggling to find suitable roles throughout the 1990s. His personal life was also tumultuous. He went through 3 marriages to actresses Terry Copley, Eileen Davidson, and Shauna Sullivan, all of which ended in divorce. Although he had 3 daughters from these relationships, Mayer often faced prolonged periods of loneliness and emotional wounds that were difficult to heal. In his later years, he became engaged to Catherine Irvine, a new ray of hope, but that happiness was short-lived. In 2011, Mayer was found dead at his home in Sherman Oaks, Los Angeles. The cause of death was recorded as natural, but his passing at the age of 57, at a time when he was still trying to rebuild his life, shocked his family and fans. His estimated net worth is around $1 million, a modest figure for someone who once dreamed of becoming a big star. Parley Baer, who played Doc Appleby, Parley Edward Baer, was born on August 5, 1914, in Salt Lake City, Utah. At 65, he brought warmth and kindness to the Dukes of Hazzard series as the gentle Dr. Doc Appleby, leaving a lasting impression with his distinctive voice, calm demeanor, and kind face. But behind that beloved image of the Doctor lay a life full of hidden pain and sacrifices that few fans knew about. Parley's youth was a struggle for survival. He worked as a circus manager, wildlife trainer, and radio announcer to make ends meet during the Great Depression. When World War II broke out, he volunteered for the Army and served 4 years in the Pacific, returning home with the rank of captain. But upon his return to America, the entertainment industry had changed, and he had to start all over again. Penniless, fameless, with only his determination and voice acting talent. In 1946, he married circus performer Ernestine Clark, his only life partner. Despite being married for 54 years, they had no children, and their relationship was sometimes strained by financial pressures and demanding careers that often kept them apart. Parley even worked as a zoo guide to make ends meet, and he didn't get stable television roles until after he turned 50, with appearances in The Andy Griffith Show, Bewitched, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and Gomer Pyle, USMC. Despite appearing on a screen over 200 times, Parley never had a leading role, and his income was barely enough to live a modest life. His biggest roles, such as that of Dr. Appleby, came in his later years. Near the end of his life, he even took on voiceover work for commercials to help cover his wife's medical expenses. When Ernestine died in 2000, Parley was devastated. Just 2 years later, on November 22, 2002, he died at a California nursing home after a stroke at the age of 88. He left a net worth of approximately $800,000. Don Pedro Colley as Sheriff Little. Don Pedro Colley was born on August 30, 1938, in Klamath Falls, Oregon. At age 41, he appeared in the Dukes of Hazzard as Sheriff Ed Little, a strict but fair law enforcement officer who provided a stark contrast to the chaotic southern town. But behind the spotlight, Colley's real life was a bumpy road. As a young man, Don pursued sports and dreamed of representing the United States at the 1960 Olympics. But after failing to make the team, that dream shattered, and he turned to architecture before fate led him to the stage in San Francisco. As a tall, striking black man, he was often typecast into menacing roles, from criminals and henchmen to the intimidating black men commonly seen in 1970s blaxploitation films. Hollywood at the time offered few opportunities for actors like him. Colley often had to accept minor roles or was marginalized because of his race. Nevertheless, he persevered, building a reputation for resilience through roles in classic television shows such as Little House on the Prairie, Starsky and Hutch, Fantasy Island, and The A-Team. Although he never became a major star, he earned the respect of his colleagues and loyal fans. His personal life was largely kept private, perhaps because Colley chose to, or perhaps because of the scars he carried from his military service, or the racial discrimination he faced in the industry. He once said at a conference that we don't need the lead role, we need our story told fairly. Perhaps that's why he was content to stay away from the spotlight, protecting his self-respect. In his final years, Colley quietly battled cancer, enduring the pain alone in his hometown. He passed away on October 11, 2017, at the age of 79. His net worth was estimated at around $600,000, a modest sum for someone who had appeared in dozens of films and television shows. Mel Tillis as Beryl Tolliver. Mel Tillis, whose full name is Lonnie Melvin Tillis, was born on August 8, 1932, in Florida. At the age of 47, he appeared in the film The Dukes of Hazzard as Beryl Tolliver, a charming and colorful supporting character who embodied the spirit of a genuine Southern artist. But behind the laughter and sweet melodies he brought to the screen lay a life full of silent struggles and pain. From a young age, Tillis lived with a stutter that began after a severe bout of malaria. Although it didn't affect his singing voice, it was a major emotional obstacle in his daily life. He once admitted that his stutter often made him feel insecure, especially in public. Instead of hiding it, he learned to turn his weakness into a unique part of his personal identity, earning admiration not only for his singing but also affection for his authenticity on stage. Tillis's family life was also far from smooth. He was married 3 times and had 6 children, including the famous singer Pam Tillis. Although she inherited his talent, their relationship wasn't always easy. Constant touring, managing his own theater in Branson, and running a radio station kept Tillis away from home, creating an emotional distance that was difficult to bridge. He often said that the more successful he became, the more guilty he felt for not having enough time with his children. His career peaked in the 1970s with hits like Good Woman Blues and Coca-Cola Cowboy. But that success came at a high price. Tillis once wrote 5 hit songs in a single week, a testament to the immense pressure he placed on himself. This relentless pace of work contributed to his declining health after 2016, leading to his death from respiratory failure on November 19, 2017, at the age of 85. Despite his tragic passing, Mel Tillis left behind a rich musical legacy and an estimated net worth of $20 million, primarily derived from his songwriting royalties, theater, and radio earnings.